role in online. We did do a little bit of comparison between the community college and the four-year college at this because we had access to that kind of data. At the community college, ethnicity was a stronger predictor than non-traditional student characteristics of enrollment online. At the four-year college, the reverse was true. Each additional non-traditional risk factor increased the likelihood of enrollment by 2 points at the four-year college and 2 at the two-year college and 5 percentage points at the four-year college. So ethnicity seemed to be a bigger factor at the community college is what the takeaway from that one was. I just bombarded you with a bunch of our research. 3 general things that are sort of takeaways or big takeaways, I think. One is that GPA is important when we look at community college and online learning, but we really have to focus on previous online success if we want to increase retention. The second thing is there is something going on with the Hispanic and African American Black populations that they are tremendously underrepresented in the online environment. But again, we found that they're underrepresented in terms of enrollment. In terms of outcomes, we found no differences by ethnicity. I can only speculate in terms of the Zhu and Jagger, which differs from us. We're using different data sets. They're mostly West Coast and we're East Coast. I don't know. I don't think that one's it. I think it's more likely we put strong controls for instructor in, and I don't know specifically how they controlled for instructor. So that's my speculation. I'd have to go deeper into their research to find out. The third one that I want to share that was important to us is the attrition rates in STEM online courses are higher than non-STEM and liberal arts. And that's leading us into the future where we are right now, the future of our research. Kay, Claire, and I have recently been granted an almost $750,000, yeah, 700 and 1,800, all that money, NSF grant. I just can't even say it, it's too big, to do a 3-year study. It's a series of STEM studies using mixed methods, both quantitative and qualitative, and some of you who are directors of e-learning across CUNY may have already been contacted for the qualitative part. But what we're doing is we're using nationally representative data and also CUNY-wide community college data to develop and test a model to predict course and subsequent college persistence of community college students who take at least one STEM online course while controlling for a bunch of other factors that will likely influence their self-selection and persistence. So all those things like prior experience and GPA and the non-traditional student risk index. So our goal is to be able to come up with a model that will help us find those students who are at highest risk, this time across the country, and increase STEM retention in online learning and help get rid of that attrition gap. That's what I got.
Alyse, thank you. We have a little bit of time for questions.
Yes, are we on? Is this on?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Bruce Naples, Queensborough Community College. You use the term online learning and online courses a lot throughout the presentation. Would you please clarify? Do you mean fully online? Is all this data related to fully online, or is blended online classes part of the data?
We used the Sloan Foundation 80% or more, so these were online. We were not looking at hybrid for this particular research. We were looking at fully online.
I think that's important to understand.
Yeah, thank you for making that clarification.
Manfred Phillip, Lehman College and the Graduate Center. I don't quite understand what the reference group is when you're saying, for instance, Black and Hispanic students have a different graduation rate or whatever. Does that compare? Is that compared to brick and mortar classes or compared to the entire population of the college?
So in these cases, when we're looking at ethnicity, what we're looking at is online enrollment, yes. And we're comparing different student subgroups. So we're actually comparing Hispanic and Black populations against white and Asian student populations. Within the online environment.
But my question is, how does that compare to the brick and mortar classes?
So
do they have the same issues, or do they have
no? It's in face-to-face where we don't see the same pattern.
Ah, okay, that was my thank you.
James Richardson, CUNY SBS. The question I would ask is, when you were looking at some of the statistics for Black and Hispanic students, when you broke out by ethnicity, did you also break out by socioeconomic class in terms of...
We controlled for all of those different factors, yes.
And did you see any difference between Black and Hispanic students who may be on a higher economic scale as opposed to those from less resources?
We're looking at community college students. There wasn't that much difference,
Okay.
is the response.
Because honestly, I think one of the things that you might see if there was some control mechanism
Right.
in that area is that one of the reasons why you might see Black and Hispanic students more hesitant to sign up for online classes is because they don't see the initial the value in terms of, if I'm going to pay my money, I want a professor in front of me.
And in fact, two possible reasons have been hypothesized that relate to what you're talking about. One is cultural communication as an issue, that you need the face-to-face versus the online, which has that impersonal sort of aspect to it.
Right.
And the second is although the media likes to say that the digital divide is over and everybody has access, we know that's realistically not true. And so it could be an equity issue.
I mean, it's also when you start looking at, I teach at a community college as well at LaGuardia, and one of the things that we'll see is that students who do have access to computers may have a computer that's shared among a group of people within the family.
Yes.
Or the computer may be
Exactly.
in an area where it's not easily accessible or quiet. So some of the issues that they may have with taking an online class may be, I might need to take the laptop into the hallway because the living room is like the shared location where it usually is.
Or I don't have it because my mom, grandma, uncle is using it.
Exactly.
For whatever. And in fact, the research that showed, when we did the research in the Northeast and found such a low enrollment in Hispanic populations in particular, it actually, when we look at internet usage in the Northeast, there's a lower internet usage by Hispanic populations in the Northeast.
Really?
Yes. And a lot more mobile apps using their phones.
Students are getting their internet access via their phone, which isn't conducive, at least not the way we've developed our platforms to communicate.
Blackboard on your phone is not
Right.
the best.
I think this is fascinating research.
Thank you.
I think just one more point, I'll let you run after lunch. Alyse alluded to non-traditional characteristics, and that's something we've done further studies on. It's a really important point, this idea of delayed enrollment, meaning there's a gap between high school and when you go to college, part-time, being a working parent, having dependents, et cetera. What we found is that with every one of those non-traditional characteristics we identify, the likelihood of there being an online student increases. So
Significantly.
What that says to you is when you're measuring who's doing well and who's not, those are all the same characteristics that are a high cause of student dropout because they've got all these other demands, and yet those are the very characteristics that
make them
be
take
more
classes.
likely to enroll in an online course. All right, why don't we grab a quick sandwich and we'll do our panel.
There's one question.
One question.
I'm sorry.